Yay. All right. We are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. This is our weekly webinar for Up Church, and I am so excited. I'm going to make sure I don't have any sound playing in my ear because that thing plays behind, but I think I can watch the live chat too. And I posted the link for anybody that wants to join to sit live. So you have that. Close this. Get all my little pieces together. Okay, so tonight's lesson is really great because it is on the first law of increase, which is Galatians 6:7. As you sow, so shall you reap. And as I put in the email, that I hope you brought your peppermints because this is going to need a little sugar to go down. It is not a, what's the word? There's no way to eat. There's no way to eat this food and not have it like catch you in the back of the throat. You know how you like that hot pepper, and it, it's good. Or it has a little kick to it. Well, this is that lesson. It's got a little kick to it. Let me pull up our PowerPoint and jump right into the lesson. So I titled this lesson, Understanding the Law of Increase, the first law of increase. And my subtitle was How to Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself. Because it really is that kind of lesson. What did I do, Sherri? Okay. All right. Y'all know this is a two-part thing with this wonderful PowerPoint. Okay. Okay. Understanding the law of increase, AKA how to check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that's what this is all about tonight. And before we get started, I want to just kind of take a pause, 60 seconds, and just, you can put it in the comments. Let me know where you want to experience increase. Where do you want to experience increase in your life? Just 60 seconds. Where do you want? Maybe you want more money. Maybe you want more love. Maybe peace. Maybe we just, it's right about just peace of mind. What is it that you want more of? Where would you like to experience increase? $30. Where would you like to experience increase? Quintina says, in my career. No, that's right. Yes, yes. Yes, I like that, Constance. Teaching. That was actually my goal for that is my goal for 2017, which is to refine my teaching and preaching and speaking all the way around. Ray says peace of mind. Olga says everywhere, finances, business, everything. Yes, yes, yes. Joe says peace. Yvonne says in my finances. Okay, cool. Hold that in mind, and we're going to keep moving because that's what we're going to concentrate on, where you want to experience that increase. Oh, good. Victoria says in my music ministry. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. So our outline is pretty straightforward. It's kind of the same format every Thursday night. We got announcements, opening prayer. We're going to talk about why universal law matters for you. We're going to talk about what it means to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I think I did not put the right card up, but that's okay. We're going to keep moving. And then we have 8 rules for cooperating with the law of increase, and then Q&A. And of course, ask questions throughout. Know your why. So one of the reasons that I've been doing this since coming up on 4 years, September 2013 is when this started, is because this teaching has changed my life. That this has made such a huge difference in just who I am, how I approach life, why I do what I do. And I am committed inwardly to waking up as many people as possible to their innate divinity and to inspire them to live from it. That I think that life is better when you know who you are. I think that you're better. that when you are living out your divine assignment, what the Spirit has for you to do has a blessing for everybody across the planet. And that literally what God is looking for is more hands and more feet. And if anything that I say or do helps you to become one more pair of hands or one more pair of feet to go and do the work, then job well done. And so that's why this is important to me. It's why I show up every Thursday night. It's why this is available to anybody free of charge, basically. I do ask that you consider making a gift because it does cost to produce it and the time to put it together. And so you can do that right at revsherri.com, and a gift of any size is greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance for your support. So the way that this series works is we've got the blog, comes out on Thursdays, Bible Hangout on Thursday night. We also have something called the Universal Law Library, and I am so excited about this. This is it's aiming to be the largest curated collection of information online about universal law. And so it is user generated. So this week, the goodie that we added to the library comes from our good friend, Alita Wilkins out of Chicago, Illinois. Thank you, Alita. And it's a beautiful poem from Paul Lawrence Dunbar called The Seedling that actually speaks to this process of universal law of planting, reaping, and sowing. And it was a beautiful poem. And I'm so glad that she shared it. If you have something, we're building the queue. There's room in it for you. If you have something that you want to add to the queue, you can go ahead and send me an email right to Sherri at revsherri.com. And well, I'll be happy to put it in the queue. My book came out last week, and so it was a soft launch. And so the question I'm asking everyone to do, or the task, or the request, is to get a copy. You can do that right at Amazon.com. It's available on Kindle and print on demand. It's coming to Audible soon. And leave a review on Amazon. I'm working now with my team behind the scenes to develop the sort of bigger push for the book. So in the meantime, what I'm asking my spiritual community to do is to write a review on Amazon and give me an honest review, like, so that you don't, you ever go up on Amazon and you see those reviews and you're like, man, they paid somebody to write those reviews. I don't want y'all to do that. I want you to say, okay, this is what I actually thought of the book, and I'll deal with it. I might cry, and that's okay. But just put it on there anyway, because the honest reviews really help somebody decide that, this material is for me or this is not for me. So thanking you in advance for your for what you put on the review for the book. Thank you. The scripture for this series is, do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. It's Matthew 5:17. Do not think that I've come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. This entire series is about the fulfillment of the law. The law didn't go away with Jesus. That's a theological point of view. That is not, he came to teach us how to cooperate with spiritual law. So, and you will see that through the scripture that's highlighted through the tonight's conversation, but it is about fulfilling the law. And so if you would just take a moment to just relax and still your mind and just be open to the idea that there is more that God wants to do through you, for you. And that the only way that the Spirit can flow in a greater way through you is for you to develop the capacity to receive. And so we open our hearts and our minds to God. Come up through us, to us, Father. Let us know what it is that you have for us. Guide us into the overflow that you have already prepared for our lives. We are here to fulfill the divine assignment that you have given us. We are here to be your hands and your feet in the world. Put us to work. Let this time that we spend together be our training period so that we may go forth and be change agents for good in the world. We surrender all personal ambition, all selfish motives, anything that is at cross purposes with your divine assignment on our individual lives. Thank you, God. In the name and the nature of the one that we call the Christ, I affirm that this prayer is so, and so it is. And amen. So, why universal law matters for you? This is a card you guys see every week. And I keep coming back to it. One, because I just want to keep hammering the idea that universal law matters to you. And the thing is that we reap abundantly in our garden and in our lives, according to the seed that we sow. We reap abundantly in our own lives according to the seed that we sow. And, as a child, we used to say, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. In other words, be mindful of what you're saying because your mouth may get you in trouble. And that's pretty much what sums up this law, that we reap abundantly in our gardens and our lives according to the seed that we sow. And we often find it hard to believe that we are the author of the confusion and the chaos in our own lives. And we need somebody to blame. But 1 Corinthians 14:33 tells us that God is not the author of confusion. But still, we want some kind of explanation that helps us to sidestep our hand in the co-creation process. And what this lesson is about not sidestepping that process, not sidestepping our role in the creative process, but owning what it is that we are doing to create our lives. Owning that process and really sitting with it and not running away from it, but realizing that nothing is being withheld from us. That, something that people will say when they're going through a hard time, they'll say, well, God won't give you more than you can bear. That's true. But the corollary is also true, which is that God won't give you more than you prepare to receive. I love music. I sing all the time. And I have a wealth of lyrics in my head for just about every type of song: country, R&B, hip hop, soul, neo soul, house, gospel. I mean, like a lot. And the thing is that I'm not a trained musician. So even though there's a lot of music in my head, if I sat down to try to compose a song, it's going to sound different than say India Ari sits down to compose a song. God may want to flow through me in the same way that God wants to flow through India Ari, but if I haven't done the work, the flow can't happen. The flow simply cannot happen. And so it's incumbent upon us to own the places where we are trying to reap where we have not yet sown. And this law, this is why I say check yourself before you wreck yourself, because very often we're reaching for things that we have not done the work to have in our lives. We are reaching for things where we have not done the work to have in our lives. And so that's what tonight is about. And what I want to give you are 8 rules or 8 ways to cooperate with Galatians 6:7. As you sow, so shall you reap. 8 ways to cooperate with the law. Remember, Jesus's purpose, one of the stated purpose, was to come and to teach us to fulfill the law, not to abolish it. But how do I fulfill the law? How do I cooperate with this law so that I can get what I want out of life and be of service to humankind? Give me 1 second. Let me get my slide together. Okay. So the first thing that we need to realize is that increase happens everywhere all the time. This process of sowing and reaping is not, it's not like a one-time do and be done with it kind of thing. We're constantly sowing seeds. We're constantly reaping a harvest. It's a never-ending cycle. The only thing that changes is the kind of seed that we sow or the kind of harvest that we reap. That's it. And the seeds that are in your possession right now, it's a mixture, right? It's a mixture of thoughts, words, and actions. And the harvest that you now reap always point back to the seeds that were previously sown. So whatever you're pulling up in your life, plenty or lack, peace or chaos, joy or sadness, the only thing it tells you, it says nothing about who you are ultimately as a person. What it does tell you something about are the seeds that you have sown. That you cannot assign any more meaning to the results in your life other than I had this seed in my hand and I sowed it because, and how do I know? Because there's fruit that proves that I sowed it. There's a line in one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich. And he says this about defeat. He says, all defeat is temporary until you decide otherwise. And the only thing that defeat tells you is that you had a faulty plan. That's the only thing that so many times we go through defeat and it defines us. All of a sudden we treat it as if it is the be all and end all of our experience. It's so hard to get back up. Our ego is bruised. We're ashamed because we went for a target. It didn't hit it. We told everybody we were going for the target. We didn't hit the target. And now the shame of not hitting the target is keeping us from getting up and trying again. And the only thing that defeat can tell you is that you had a faulty plan. And the only thing that rotten fruit can tell you is that you had a rotten seed. That's it. It does not say anything ultimately about your character. It doesn't say that you're a bad person. It doesn't say that God doesn't want you to have what it is that God wants you to have. It simply says you sowed the wrong seed. That's all it says. And this is a quote from the book. McArthur says, the miracle in the law is one of abundance and joy and beauty, wherein you reap not only what you sow, but far, far more, multiplied many times when the right kind of seed is nurtured with the spirit of love and cooperation. So the harvest is abundant. We don't know. Let me say that differently. We know how many seeds are in an apple. I had an apple today. When I cut it open, I could see that there were like, I don't know, let's say 7 seeds that were in there that I like picked out and threw away. What we do not know is in a single seed, how many apples are in that seed. That one seed planted is going to yield a bumper crop, period. Because that's just how it goes. And you actually don't know how many you're going to get until the harvest comes. It's part of the character of the apple seed. Do we know if there are 100 apples in there? Do we know if there are only 10 apples in there? We don't know. What we do know is that you will reap abundantly. That's the nature of it. And so you may be reaping abundantly from a seed that's producing fruit that you don't want. And the only thing that this tells you is that the law works and you can rework it in the way that you want it to work. Alita says, wow. Yeah. Oh no, Yvonne says the slides are a bit blurry. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a stutter on my end. I'm just trusting that this is all, the connection is tight. My connection is strong, so I'm gonna keep moving. But either way, I'll have the slides available, Yvonne. So thank you for letting me know that. So what do we need to do? We need to study the seed. Study your seed. Really get to know, what am I sowing? What am I sowing? Look at the fruit, because the law multiplies whatever you give it many times. Whatever you give the law, it multiplies it many times. And so our responsibility then is to study the seed. Really take that time, set aside time during your day, make it a non-negotiable. You wouldn't leave the house without brushing your teeth. Don't leave the house without studying your seed. Now, this one, I thought we're going to need to sit down for this one. So the average person thinks between 40,000 and 60,000 thoughts in a day. And there's some people who put this number as high as 80,000 thoughts in a day. And when you think that every thought is a seed, or every thought plants a seed, and these include the thoughts that we think consciously and those that escape our conscious awareness. So just saying it a little differently, we wake up every morning with 40,000 to 60,000 seeds in our hands every morning. I don't know that. I mean, unless it's like a check written for $40,000, I don't know that I could carry 40,000 of anything. But every day, you wake up with 40 to 60,000 seeds in your hand. I got a comment from Victoria. She says, so is self-affirmations considered seeds? Yeah. Yeah. The affirmations you do, I am wealthy. What is it? Joel 3:10. Let the weak say I am strong. Yes. But get this. Because see, it's not really the stuff that's on the surface, right? It's all of that inner chatter. And that inner chatter it's like most people are unaware of it. And that's the real creator of your experience. Most people say, well, I think positive thoughts. And it's like, no. I don't need a tape recorder on what you're saying out loud. I need that tape recorder on what you're saying in yourself. Let me get a tape recorder and put it, if I could plug a tape recorder, if we could come up with a device and I could plug up a tape recorder in your head, it would no longer surprise you why your day goes the way that it goes. And you'd be like, oh yeah, it would no longer shock you why things go south. Victoria says, LOL, so true. Yes. So, but if you could get that, I mean, seriously, because 40,000 to 60,000 is just a lot, right? So unless it's like a banknote, for that amount of money, I can't imagine having 40,000 to 60,000 of anything in my hand, let alone 80,000. But every morning, that's what's happening. Every morning you're waking up and that's how many seeds. And so here's the thing, by the end of the day, you have planted some kind of garden because it's just how we're wired. We're thinking beings. We are thinking beings. And so you have to mind your thoughts. You have to mind your thoughts. In Proverbs, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And when you consider that we've got 40 to 60,000 seeds. And so some of them are on autopilot. Some of them are things you were just taught to think because mama thought that way. It didn't mean that it was right or wrong, but just mama thought that way. Or auntie who used to give you the candy, who you really like, she thought that way. And so you picked up the way that she think. And so the question I have for you is that what can you do to think in the right direction? Right? 40,000 to 60,000 is a lot to manage, right? So that would be a losing battle. But can you set up one thing in your life where you can mindfully pay attention to your thoughts? Maybe 5 minutes a day, you just think in a direction. Maybe just you think in the direction that you really want to go in. Forget about the other 23 hours, 55 minutes. Just give me 5 good God minutes. Just that. What would that do? What could that do for you? Number 3, your seeds mirror your character. Your seeds mirror your character. So the character of the seed within the thought is determined by the spirit which we put into it. We know this. This makes so much sense when we're talking about apple trees. When it's apple trees, it's not even personal, right? If you get I said this today because Jordan had his graduation at his school, and they had watermelon, and the watermelon was so sweet. And I was like, this is amazing. So literally for the entire season that I've had watermelon in LA, and this is unusual, why I'm mentioning it this way, every watermelon I have had has been delicious. That's unusual. The last time I remember watermelon being good every time I ate it was when I was growing up in Houston. But since I have become an adult, and really since I moved to LA, it's like the fruit is different. I don't know what they're doing to the seeds or what, but it's not, you could get a watermelon and the whole thing is just kind of like, it's not sweet, right? And so literally every watermelon I have had this season is sweet. And so it's like, what are they doing in the watermelon patch, right? And so we get this when we're talking about fruit. It's much different when we're talking about ourselves. Somehow a block goes up, we get personal with it, we get all up in our feelings. But the same way that when you take off your clothes, the perfume or the cologne that you have had on is still in your clothes, right? It bears the essence of your scent. Then your thoughts, your words, and your actions also bear the essence of your scent. And so they go into the ground of your consciousness with that spirit baked into them. And so seeds sown by an angry mind produce anger-filled fruit, and seeds sown by a peaceful mind produce peace-filled fruit. Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits. A good tree can't bear bad fruit, and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. The fruit always matches the tree from which it grew. And so there's some things about this universe that you can trust. You may not like the result that you're seeing, but you can't doubt the result that you're seeing. And so what we can begin to do is to cultivate an abiding sense of love, and specifically self-love. Because what you give to you, you automatically give to someone else. There really is no such thing as loving somebody else more than you love yourself. No such thing. You don't have it to give. Just like if you haven't built $1 million consciousness, you won't have $1 million to give. If you haven't built a self-love consciousness, you won't have love to give. Don't fool yourself or anybody else. And so you have to begin to prioritize loving yourself. When you love you, you get mindful about the seeds that you sow. If you have a health consciousness and you believe in taking care of your body, you don't eat just anything. You start planning your meals, because everything that's out there can't go in this body. If you have a consciousness of a sleep consciousness, because our culture is sleep deprived. If you have a consciousness about sleep, you organize your travel, you organize everything you do so that you get enough sleep. You don't show up anywhere sleepy. And so if you cultivate a sense of abiding self-love and prioritize it, then you can trust the seeds that you sow. You only have to fear if, you only have to fear if you have not cultivated that self-love. Then you should be worried about what shows up. You should be skeptical about everybody that shows up in your life. You should be giving everybody and everything the side eye if that self-love is not there, because it's only going to give back to you. The apple will not fall far from the tree. It's only going to give back to you what you have cultivated. And so lift up. I got a wake up call this week, last week, just going this month, maybe the last couple of months, going through just several, physical challenges. And it showed me that I've got to raise self-care even higher than I think I have it. Because we only break down when we have worn ourselves out. And so all this breakdown stuff that's going on, it's like, oh, baby girl, you got to slow down. you running so fast. You better listen. What is it? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what it is. Oh, thank you. Okay, got it. So I was just reading a comment from Joe. Joe says, so I get a few good days, then that inner chatter gets the best of me, and I want to watch Netflix to zone out. I hear you, girl. Quintina says, set your intentions as soon as you get up. Joe, I second Quintina's thing, that I have found that if I don't get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and then get that personal development in, it just jams up the whole day, because there's no time to get it done. By the time it takes me 2 hours to get all my lunch stuff together, all my dinner stuff together, get Jordan together, pack him up, get on the road, get through traffic, whatever. So then by the time I get to the office, there really is only time to work. There's no time to do that personal development. And the thing is that the success is found in the daily routine. There's no such thing as this overnight, right? That you become what we do every day. And so we have to build it into every day. And so if I were to add anything to what Quintina is saying, is just to add those daily disciplines that I, you meditate daily. I have this, I don't know if I can reach it. Hold on. Oh, I can't find my cards. Oh, here we go. But I have these, what I call my prosperity flashcards, and where I work through them literally on like a daily basis, 5 minutes a day. And it's just, it's cultivating that consciousness, is that, I'm being highly intentional with the mind that I'm preparing for God to flow through, right? That God can only go through me to the level of my self-development. So personal development and spiritual development, they go hand in hand. That I have to write every day if I want the spirit to flow through me as a writer. That you rely too much on genius if with this writing every other day, or writing once a week or once a month, or you got to get that daily discipline, because you want that flow of spirit on an ongoing basis. Number 4, sow with a clear, positive purpose. So we have 3 types of seeds. We have thoughts, we have words, we have actions. And what I mean by that is that we sow on all levels, right? We sow on the physical level, we sow on the spiritual level, we sow on the mental level. Here's the thing: what we do in the physical, we meet in the physical. What we do in the mental, we meet in the mental. And what we do in the spiritual, we meet in the spiritual. And so the game of life is about sowing the same seed across every level of life. The game of life is about sowing the same seed across every level of life. Whenever we do not get our desired results, we can be certain that we have sown mismatched seeds. We may have planted positively on the spiritual level, but acted negatively on the physical or the mental level, or vice versa. And the universe honors intention. So you might, let's say, try to do something where you're trying to help somebody, but it's a little bit of a cheat, right? So you got some deceit in it. The end result is going to be good because it's going to benefit all these people, but you're like kind of sowing a backroom deal to like make it happen. The universe can only return to you according to the seed sown. So deceit, even in an attempt to help others, brings disturbance to the soul. And so for the purpose with which we sow is the purpose with which we reap. So we have to be mindful to always sow with a clear and positive purpose. So you got to examine your intentions. You got to examine your intentions. This is one of those hold your feet to the fire, because we will lie to ourselves. We will lie to ourselves, and we will say that the thing that we are doing is for a good intention. But if chaos results, then you know that you have probably done a good deed for the wrong reasons. And how do you know? Well, God is not the author of confusion. If there's confusion and chaos, it's not God. Go back to your intentions. Good deeds for the wrong reasons invite chaos. And again, this is one of those hard lessons, hard things to see, because no one believes that wants to believe that they're a bad person. And no one is a bad person, but we're so vested in seeing ourselves as a good person that we find it challenging to see our less than noble motives. If you talk to anyone, get in a room with someone who is a narcissist, self-serving, whatever, and the first thing they're going to tell you is what a good person they are. It's like they're vested in, I'm a good person. And so sometimes we mask our ability to actually see what it is that we're doing. But again, that's why you got to go and look at the fruit. You got to go and look at the fruit. Well, what's the fruit telling me? Because the fruit is pointing to something. The fruit is indicating something. And so we have to have the I don't know what the word is, mindfulness, right? To to think like an adult. You know, it is Corinthians. He says, Paul says, you know, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, right, when I grew up, and that doesn't necessarily mean a physical growing up, but when I matured in my development, I put away those things. And so I'm willing to say that I used to do it this way, but I no longer do it this way. It's not worth it to me to damage myself, to limit. You know, you guys have heard me say, I want my fifth symphony. You know, I look around, I say everything that God does in a lavishly abundant way, lavish abundance. I mean, you know, just you can look at the number of species of bees. Oh, I read something this week. Listen, get this. Okay, lavish abundance, and there's a no compete clause. So there's a book called Pure, White, and Deadly. So shout out to my mom for telling me about this book. And this is not what the book is about, but the guy was describing the human diet. Do you know that every animal needs essentially the same components for their diet? Meaning that lions, tigers, bears, humans, cats, dogs, rats, pigs, cows, all need the same amount of protein, the same amount of carbohydrates, and the same amount of fats and minerals and vitamins. The same amount. So based on that, they literally could eat the same diet. Isn't that cool? Okay, so Larry, this is a little bit of a geek moment. Just go with me. So they literally could eat the same diet, but no one competes for the same food source. Every animal, some are vegetarians, some are meat eaters, some are omnivores, right? Each of them has evolved to eat a diet that is unique to them. No one competes for their food source. And so when you, I always say that, you know, when you study nature, it tells you like how a God is like, right? God designed the universe with a no compete clause. This whole competition thing is like a human invention. Nothing in the universe competes for what it needs to survive. That blew my wig all the way back. So I say that when you study God, you find that God does things lavishly abundant. And so I know that part of opening up is allowing that lavish abundance to flow through me. And if God can flow through a Beethoven and create music that even a kid in the ghetto in 2017, if he hears the music, knows the music, dun, 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 and they can and follow it, then give me my fifth symphony. Flow through me in that way. I'm willing to forgive anything, anyone, anybody, let go of every grudge, overcome any personal obstacle. What must that feel like to have that spirit flow through you in that way? That you've been gone 250 years and everybody on the planet know your music. Come on now. So again, it is an opening up process to examine your intentions, hold your own feet to the fire, be willing to do that work. And so I want to just take 60 seconds and just think about the 4 rules where we are, just kind of get a pulse on where everybody is. Which is the one you need to work on? Of the 4, we went through 4. We said, the first one is recognize that increase happens everywhere all the time. So this reaping and sowing is a never ending cycle. We said the second rule is that every thought plants a seed. And the third one is that your seeds mirror your character. And the fourth one is that you need to sow with a clear, positive purpose. Which of those 4, you got 30 seconds, which of those 4 is one you probably need to work on the most? I mean, you know, I would imagine, and I'm throwing myself in the pot, I need to work on all of them, but like, what's the one that needs your attention the most? What's the one that's like, do not pass go? Andrea says, every thought plants a seed. Every thought plants a seed. Yes. Victoria says internal. Victoria, I'm trying to catch your message moved off of my phone. Hold on. I'm getting messages from a couple of different places. Alita says number 3, maybe 4. Oh, the 40,000 thoughts daily. Yes, ma'am. Quintina says number 3. Let me go back and tell you what number 3 is. Number 3 was your seeds mirror your character. Yvonne says every thought plants a seed. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, got it. All right, let's keep moving. So number 5, rule number 5, means and ends are the same. Means and ends are the same, y'all. So I used to say, and I remember when I came out to LA and I was in film school and I was like, by any means necessary, I'm gonna make it. I no longer hold that point of view because I now understand that means and ends are the same. By this law, the means, meaning what we sow, determine the ends that we reap. Whatever is in the seed is in the tree. Whatever is in the seed is in the tree. So if you begin with work hard, baby, whatever you show, whatever that end result is going to include work hard. So I don't hustle, I don't grind because I flow, right? We get away with nothing. The law operates on all 3 levels. What you hold on the spiritual or the mental level eventually finds its way into the physical. And most of us are not conscious of what we're carrying on those 2 levels. And so we don't realize that we're the cause of what is happening to us. Poisonous apples come from poisonous trees. Poisonous apples come from poisonous trees. And so you must examine your spiritual and mental purposes. Unwanted fruit points to mismatched seeds. Take the time to establish a means that you would be willing to have show up in your end. Most people can't tell you what they can tell you what they hold on a physical level because you can just go through their date book and be like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Right? What we need to become mindful of is what are we holding on the spiritual and the mental level. And so we have to make it a priority to examine what else are we holding. And you always know if I'm not getting the results, then there must be something in the fruit. And I can trust that. And so I can go and study the fruit. Go and study the fruit. Number 6, the law ain't playing with you. The law is not playing with you. You can fool people. You cannot fool God. Galatians, God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you will reap. And the true motivation or spirit is always known and the laws operate accordingly. So 2 people can perform the same act with opposite results because the law operates on intention. So one person might do something nice for another person simply for the purpose of being kind. Right? I want to be kind to this person. I think that they're wonderful and I just want to do something nice for them. Another person might do something nice for the same person with the intention of getting something from that person. And the recipient in both cases might actually be happy with the gift given. But the universe can only produce from the seed sown. And so the law doesn't judge what should or should not be done. It just gives back to the giver what was sown, exactly what was sown. And so this is one of those no excuses, right? You got to eliminate selfish motives. And you got to mind your own spiritual business. You know, we spend an inordinate amount of time wanting to see other people get their comeuppance. You know, we want to see some of these politicians, right, get their own comeuppance, especially all the stuff that's happening right now in the news and the you know, every day it's a crapshoot of what's going to come out. And you're looking around and you know, it's almost like we celebrate, you know, the comeuppance, you know. And the thing is that every thought plants a seed. So let it go. And two, you can plant a seed that it doesn't matter what decision is made anywhere by anybody else. I do not need you to co-sign on what God has and wants to do has for me and wants to do through me. And so I can make an agreement with the universe for the lavish abundance that belongs to me. And that includes health, wealth, happiness, money, prosperity, abundance, fun, adventure, all the good that you can imagine. I can make an agreement with the universe that you can pass every law on the books and you won't be able to take it from me. So I have to begin to mind my own spiritual business, because me minding your business is sowing a seed in my life. And I'm looking at the fruit that you're getting, and I don't want the fruit that you got. I don't want to eat from your apple tree, Congress. I don't want to eat from your apple tree, White House. I don't want to eat from that apple tree. That looks like nonsense to me. So I've got to mind my own spiritual business and pay attention to the seed that I'm sowing, because that's what produces in my life. Your laws don't produce in my life. My agreement with your laws produce in my life. And I can't say this enough. I only have to disagree. When other women in other parts of the U.S. were fighting to be heard as ministers, hear me good now, Johnny Coleman was busy building a mega church in Chicago. You don't fight no battles. You just start agreeing with God and make it happen. Come on now. So it's, if you settle the question in your own mind, what you think, what somebody else thinks, keep it. Keep it. Please get this. When other people and other women were fighting to be heard, fighting with the archdiocese, y'all need to let women preach. A woman can preach. They go and they find in scripture all kind of craziness, right? Johnny said, no, God gave me a message. I'm going. And build a mega church that everybody is now imitating. This is in like the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. And so as she was sitting on Tavis Smiley, and she was there with Vashti McKenzie, and let me not name names because I'm not putting anybody down. She was there with other women in her generation. And so she had this look on her face, because they were talking about all the struggles that they had had. And she had this look on her face that was so puzzled. And so Tavis asked her, well, what's that look for? She said, I wouldn't wait for Jesus to tell me that I could preach. If God gave me a message, I'm gone. I'm out here waiting for your permission. No. So we have to let go of this idea that someone can create in our own experience. Nothing external to you has power over you. You plus God is a majority. That's it. You plus God is a majority. And so you need to own that and begin to walk in your power and expect good results. Number 7, give what you want to receive. Give what you want to receive. So because the seeds that are available to us are sown, and it can feel like this outgoing process, right? Because, we've got a thought to plant, or we've got a word to give, or we've got an action to do. But the truth is that we sow seeds in our own inner self. What we think, what we speak, what we do, it grows in us. And the more often we think it, speak it, and act it in a particular spirit, the greater that energy builds in the seed and the stronger it becomes in us. And so the thing is that you're not alone in doing this, right? Because sometimes you may have difficulty building an idea in yourself. You may work with self-confidence. You may struggle with a sense of inner worth. So the way to create it is to find and have it in another person. So let's say you have difficulty believing in yourself and you want to develop that. Find and have confidence in another person As you think and act in that spirit and with that purpose toward others, the seed will gradually grow in you. Now, that may seem counterintuitive because there are articles in Cosmopolitan, People Magazine, everywhere that suggest that we have more confidence in others than we do in ourselves, but there's no such thing. Confidence anywhere is evidence of confidence everywhere. There's no such thing as tearing down yourself, but building others up. The universe is not mocked. People who tear down themselves also tear down others. They just may be good at masking the tear down process. So you may never hear them utter an ill word about somebody else, but you can rest assured that people are consistent across their lives. People who tear down people tear down people. People who tear down themselves tear down people. You just may not hear it. And so it can look like the person has confidence in everybody else and not in themselves, but not so. Confidence anywhere is evidence of confidence everywhere. And so you can pick somebody that you have confidence in, like genuine confidence, and not somebody that you're just kind of looking, waiting for them to fall, you know, kind of waiting in the balance. And you can develop that confidence and have confidence in that person, and it will begin to build it in you. The law works. The law always works. And so you can trust that the fire will spread. Whatever you give will find its way back to you. If you give it sincerely, it will find its way back to you, and it will build itself in you. You can trust that. And number 8, your only job is to stay the course. Don't dig up the seeds. So if you were a gardener, right, and you planted a row of roses, and let's say I came over to your garden and I dug them all up. You'd be mad at me. But let's suppose that I'm on the yellow bus. I didn't really understand my actions. And I told you, hey, I just want to see if they were growing. Then you would patiently explain to me that once you planted a seed, Sherri, you can't dig it up to see if it's growing. That's just not how it works. Right? And so this makes so much sense when we're talking about roses and apples and oranges and tulips. We do not necessarily get it when it comes to our lives, especially when there's something that we want that we have not yet manifested. And so just like roses don't immediately spring from the ground when you plant them, our good does not immediately manifest in our lives when we plant the seeds. And so there is a process, there's a growth process that happens beneath the surface. And the picking it up, right, the digging it up we do with our worry, with our anxiety, with our doubt. And so you have to stay the course, that when you plant the seeds, don't dig them up. But the other thing that you need to do is stay the course. So we got one job, and that is to be sure that our spirit, our purpose is right, that it does not change, and we need to check it each day or each hour if we need to. When we allow our spirit and our purpose to change, right? So we plant a seed of, I don't know, roses. But then we say, you know what? I'm going to go over here and start paying attention to carrots. And I go and I move to where they're growing carrots. Well, the harvest is coming from the roses. But I'm not going to be there to pick it up because my purpose changed. And so very often we sow seeds of plenty. I am rich, I am strong, I am wealthy. And then we go pack up and live in a land of lack. When it's time to harvest the seeds of plenty sown, we're nowhere to be found. We're living in an entirely different town with a brand new address. And so the harvest comes due and we're not there. And so you need to learn how to stay on your target. And this is where those daily actions come in. The success in life is found in the daily routine. You never have to guess where you're going. Life is only a mystery if you're not paying attention to what you're doing every day. Be steadfast in your desired consciousness. We miss our good when we flip-flop in our thinking. And so we've got to lean in, and it may be an hour by hour kind of thing. Right? It may not be the kind of thing where you can just plant the seed and then you good, right? That may not be how things go for you. You may need to be on top of your mind on a daily, on a moment by moment basis. This happened. We did this campaign, this was a couple of years ago now. We did this campaign in LA called I Am Abundant. It was our Lenten series. And I can't remember where it came from, but I said, you know what I'm going to do every hour on the hour from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm going to say I'm abundant 50 times. So I think this, 50 times every hour on the hour. And I had, I set my alarm on my phone and I just kind of ran through that affirmation 50 times. And I remember one day I was, I had a board meeting, I had a bunch of stuff going on, and I was doing, going through the process, doing the affirmations. My alarm would go off, and if I were among people, I would do it quietly. If I were by myself, I'd say it aloud. And I noticed something, that in between saying the affirmations, there was something happening financially for me. I had written a check and I was concerned about it being cashed and there being enough in the account, or when it was going to hit like there was money being deposited, but it hadn't yet gotten into the account. So I was concerned about the check that was written, whether or not it was going to get to the account before the money being deposited. And what I realized was that there was this low grade fear or concern, fear in the background. If I had not been doing the affirmations every hour on the hour, I would not have noticed that it was right there, because it was so beneath the surface that I just didn't notice it. I went in a normal day. But because I had this hourly process where I was coming up above ground, right? Coming up out of the malaise, I noticed what was in the background. And so sometimes we have this low grade depression, right? It's not, you'd never say, if somebody said, are you depressed? No, I'm not depressed, right? But it's just in the background. Like it's like a buzzing, like a hum, in filmmaking, when we would get the room ready to record sound and record the scene, we were shooting, say, in a home, in a kitchen, we'd have to turn off the air condition, turn off the everything that produces sound, because there are all these sounds that are like underneath that you can't hear in a normal setting. But when you've got these high powered microphones, you pick up the refrigerator buzz, you pick up the light, you got fluorescent lights, those are buzzing, you pick up the air condition buzzing in the background. And so you literally kill all of the electrical things in the room so that you can get the purest, cleanest sound possible, and there's nothing interfering with the sound. And it's like that in our lives, where our lives are so busy, we got so much going on, we're running from end to end, that there might be this low grade buzz just underneath the surface that we don't even hear. And so it's this, what you may have planted the seed of plenty. So you went to church on Sunday and you got lifted up. But by the time you got to, I don't know, to Monday, by the time you got to Monday, stuff didn't happen. And so you drop back beneath the surface. And the question is, what do you have to pull you up above the water? When you need those, we need spiritual floaties. You know how when we were little kids, they used to put the little floaty vests on us? We need some spiritual floaties to pull us up above the water, because otherwise by the time we get to Wednesday night service is not enough. I need Monday night service, Tuesday night service, Thursday night service. I need Monday morning service, Tuesday morning. I need some spiritual floaties to get me up above, because stuff is happening in our lives. And so when we plant a seed, we really need a real plan to stay the course. That's the real deal. We need a real plan to stay the course, because it's very easy to just drop into life, and then stuff is happening and your harvest is coming and you ain't there. And so this is my last 60 seconds for you. What can you do this moment or starting from this moment to cooperate with the law of increase? What's one thing? Because I'm guessing, at least for me, every one of these 8 things are things that I need to do something about. But what's one thing that you can make a plan of? David says rest. Excuse me. Constance says, be mindful of my thoughts. And Andrea says, banish any thought of lack. Yeah. 20 seconds. What's one thing? What's one thing? Because that's really what it's about. You can't do everything. But honestly, if you change one thing, that actually really will shift everything. If you change one thing, that really will shift everything. It really does work that way. And it really is that simple. And so now it's time to do something. And what it's time to do is really to sow the right seed. And so after this video, I'm asking you to go through the 8 rules and identify where you can make a change. Just kind of go back through and look back at, rule number 1 is increase happens everywhere all the time. Rule number 2, every thought plants a seed. Rule number 3, your seeds mirror your character. Rule number 4, sow with a clear, positive purpose. Number 5, means and ends are the same. Number 6, the law ain't playing with you. Stop trying to fool God. Rule number 7, give what you want to receive. And number 8, your only job is to stay the course. And so where can you make a change and kind of get like a little list that places that could change, and then pick one thing that you can commit to changing and make a definite plan of action. It's, we all have this idea that, okay, I'm gonna change everything at one time. I'm gonna just go for it, right? But that never works, right? That's the house of cards scenario. Everything's gonna come tumbling down. Really, you just need one thing. What's the one thing that if I do that, it will make a difference? And then make a definite plan of action. And then finally, leave a comment on the YouTube video for this lesson. What was your biggest takeaway? And how can you use what you've heard to do something different in your experience? Any questions? Alita says, be definite with the infinite. Yes, Mama, that is one of my favorite things. Be definite with the infinite. You cannot work with God talking about you want some food. That does not work. What food do you want? What do you want to eat? Okay, wait, I got some things here. Phyllis says, sow with the right spirit. I agree, Phyllis, me too. Yvonne says, be more conscious of my thoughts. Yes. Quintina says, be intentional and stay on course. Joe says, get serious about a morning practice. Yes, Joe, there is a book. Excuse me. There is a book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod that you'll like. And he has everybody talks about a morning routine, but I liked his book because he had a little acronym and it was cute and all that. So I recommend that book. But what you're not going to read anything new, but I think he offers a plan that's helpful. Andrea says, pay attention, be aware. Joe says, incredible lesson tonight. This has really hit me. Yay. Thanks. Constance says, work on my abundance book. Yes, go Constance. Girl, I can support you across that finish line. Let me tell you, I can be there. I can tell you where those pitfalls are. Wonderful. Thank you guys for tonight. Thank you so much. So next week, I'm doing chapter 3 in 3 parts. So next week is the second law of increase, which is the spirit of your actions multiplies the result. The spirit of your actions multiply the result. So we're going to look at the other piece of as you sow, so shall you reap, where he says that do not be weary in right doing. So the second half of that is what we're going to study. And then the third part is going to start where it talks about Jesus and the law. And we're going to work with the parable of the sower. Because I got just a fire revelation about that because at least how I've always taught the lesson that God is the sower, right? He's sowing the seed. But I realized with those 40 to 60,000 thoughts, we are our own sowers. So anyway, I'll get into that. So part 2 is the second half of Galatians 6:7, and part 3 is parable of the sower. But all of this is inside of chapter 3. So I'm divided up. Thank you so much for tonight. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you. Have a great night. And I will see you guys next week. Take care.